field. He might go all the way.
I would never let someone outwork me. I feel like that's something you can control.
Chase Edmonds, this one will count. Middle cuts it outside right hash, has some room, can't pass the 35, avoids a tackler past the 20. He's gonna get into the end zone.
I'm not focused on what some analyst says about me because I don't play this game to satisfy nobody. I play this game to be the best. I'd say I got attracted to football just because my father, he always used to tell me stories about him playing high school football and how great he was and all the things he used to do and how fast he was.
I'm not sure at what point football became his favorite sport. There was a time when I'm pretty sure basketball was his favorite sport. I remember him telling me one time, I gotta switch over because I didn't get the height I need to excel in basketball. And that's what I mean by he's pretty realistic. He knows what it takes to play any given sport, and he knows whether he has it or not.
And I remember playing my first play of football was practice. I was 5 or 6. I go out there and I hated the sport. I hated it. I despised it. Went back home, told my mom I wanted to quit, and then my dad always just told me that, you know, when you start something, you always finish it.
You don't quit. You finish what you started. So we went back crying the next day, but that was the end of it. After that, he loved it. If you want to be the best on the field, you gotta surround the other guys around you, and you gotta lead them. You know what I mean? And I said they will listen. You know, and I think he's been a tremendous leader.
But my most prized moment is he was a freshman and he did his varsity debut, and I guess because he was a freshman, we'd give him a chance, but we'll put him in on kickoff return, and they did, and he ran it back 88 yards. That's still on my camera. I recorded it myself. It's me cheering in the background because I always tell him I'm your #1 cheerleader, and I always will be.
A lot of the big Division I schools stayed away from him, you know, because they felt he was too small. And then after the Big 33 game, then they all started coming, and they all wanted him, you know, on their roster. And that's where he said, you know, Fordham was there with me from the start. So that's that loyalty that he has.
Piles back to pass for Pennsylvania. He throws the ball to Edmonds. Edmonds does catch the ball, tackled, upended by number 12, Josh Woods, but Edmonds is able to hang on, and we're starting to see a little bit of the Chase Edmonds show a little bit.
For people who don't know much about the Big 33 game, the Super Bowl has always had a person from the Big 33 game. And when it started years ago, it was the best all-star game in the country.
But he got into the Big 33 as an alternate. And then that was hurtful for him because he played his heart out throughout high school. East had gone to the playoffs and everything. And then to come up as an alternate, he felt slighted again and part of another chip on his shoulder. So when he went to the first practice where they were going to decide who's going to be the captain, he came back and he said something like, I'm not bragging or I'm not whatever, but I'm a pretty good player when I compare myself to those other ones. I believe I can be the captain. And sure enough, they announced like the next day he was the captain. And then the next time he was the MVP. And then when he got the trophy, he always felt like not only was he slighted, but East High got slighted in comparison to the other high school, the Central Dauphin Rams. And he said, I'm going to win that trophy and take it back to East where it belongs.
First and foremost, I just want to thank God for giving me the opportunity to be out here. You know, it was a disappointment. I was a reserve, so I just came out here with a chip on my shoulder to try to play. I want to thank my family, my mom, my dad, all my friends that support me. And last but not least, shout out to CD East.
I remember we had went to a bunch of colleges, you know what I mean? And I remember strictly from Villanova. And Villanova coach said, well, Chase, we really want you, blah, blah this, blah, blah that. And then right before we got ready to leave, he said, I'm gonna redshirt you the first year. And I said to myself then, I didn't say anything, but I said to myself then, you just lost him.
Because I don't think anybody knew how hard he was gonna work to be successful. So I don't think you can measure that. So the college coaches that were coming into recruiting, they would see that he was a undersized kid that that was fast but wasn't really fast, that was quick, but there was probably other kids just as quick.
He was recruited highly by a lot of the FCS schools, but none of the FBS schools. That was hurtful for him. So what I decided was, as a parent, as long as he chose a school that had that offered him a full ride, I happen not to have chosen Fordham as the #1 choice, but we did leave it up to Chase, and he made the right choice.
Once I started going to like prospect camps, so I went to a couple prospect camps and I started getting a little more offers. Fordham was my very first offer. I got that in July, I believe. I kind of realized that, I can really take it to the next level as long as I stayed focused. I remember really being, under recruited, and I remember not having like no love, like no college coach really believed in my talents. But when I got that call from Fordham, man, they believed in me so much. They thought that I should be an FBS running back, but obviously I wasn't. And they told me that, if I chose to go FCS, that they believed that was the best school to do so.
He wanted to play. And one thing about Fordham told him, if you're good enough to play, we're gonna play you. And I think that was the winning factor right there, when they told him, if he's good enough to play, we're gonna play you.
And timing is everything, and it just felt right that the right school offered me at the right time. And with the scheme that Coach Browner and Coach Moore had ran, I felt it really fit my strengths.
I thought when he went to Fordham, that was the best decision for him, because it was a place that someone was going to give him a chance. And so when he had his first season, he was doing really well. I wasn't surprised, not even a little bit. I think the other schools that didn't recruit him may have been surprised, but people that knew him here, we just always knew how hard he worked. So when you see somebody that works that hard, that's never going to give up, and they have the talent behind it, then I'm not surprised at what he's doing.
It made me work so much harder, and it made me really just focus on being the hardest worker in the locker room or on a football team or on the football field at any time. I'll be okay with somebody being faster than me. I'll be okay with somebody being stronger than me, just because somebody's always going to be better than you. But I would never let someone outwork me. I feel like that's something you can control at all times in your life. And I'll never look to my left or my right and say, wow, man, that guy's really outworking me right now.